This is an NBC News Special Report.
Good morning, guys. Craig and I are coming on the air early to bring you the very latest on Hurricane Ida. That storm, which packed an incredible punch, was a Category 4, right now weakening, but remains a very dangerous threat at this moment. Craig.
Here's where things stand right now. Ida making landfall in Louisiana on Sunday as a strong Category 4 hurricane, just 7 miles per hour shy of a Cat 5, winds reaching about 150 miles per hour. And the surge of water caused devastating flooding. Overnight, some people were told to get to higher ground immediately.
Yeah, there are a lot of people, by the way, Craig, who are like begging for rescue at this hour. Louisiana is also dealing with what's described as a catastrophic power failure. That means 1 million people in New Orleans, the entire city of New Orleans, in the dark. And that's where we're going to start off our coverage with Al Roker. Al, what's the latest there?
Well, guys, I will tell you, I look all around and we can hear the sound of generators, but very few lights, and it's breezy. The rain has stopped, but of course that means we've got still a lot of devastation. It's dark. We don't really have an idea until the sun comes up of what we are going to see. We were hunkered down in our hotel. There was a lot of flooding in and around our region. Here we're in downtown New Orleans, and let's take a look. You give me a sense of the power of this system. The strongest winds gusts right where Ida came on shore, Port Fourchon. Allegedly, we had 172 mile per hour wind gust. Grand Isle 146, Duloc 138, New Orleans. Here in New Orleans, 87 miles per hour wind gust, and that's tough. We've got a lot of we've heard about skyscrapers, windows getting blown out, a real mess here. Latest right now, Ida's 95 miles south-southwest, Jackson, Mississippi, 60 mile per hour winds. It's moving north at 8 miles per hour. This is going to be a slow mover and a high impact storm, even though it's losing its tropical characteristics. Today, slowly moving across Mississippi. Got a tornado risk still across the Gulf. Tomorrow, that moisture is going to merge with a front, increasing the flood risk for Kentucky and Tennessee, because that region's been soaked with heavy rain. And by Wednesday, it's into the mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast, continuing this record-setting wet summer. And then by Thursday, moves off the Jersey coast late in the day. Heaviest rain will be across New England. So a real mess, guys. We're talking rainfall still stretching from the Gulf all the way to New England of about 5 to 7 more inches, with 55 million people under flood watch.
Yeah, Al, what's interesting about what New Orleans did post-Katrina was they really fortified that city. They put up big levees and all the rest. And this ended up being a big wind event. But there are places that have water issues. So with power being out, what's the story with the pumps and pumping out the water with the issues with the power?
Well, you know, they do have emergency backups, but the problems right now, like, for example, in our hotel, water's running, but we don't know whether it's potable or not. And they, quite frankly, don't know. They're telling people that EMS is down, that if you've got an emergency, nobody's coming. They really don't have a sense of what the state of the city is right now, because communications are down. It is a disaster right now. One of the major power lines that comes into the city is a big transmission tower. It's gone. I mean, literally is gone. So nobody, in fact, right now, a lot of the cell service towers are gone. It's a city that's cut off right now.
Yeah. Well, Al, thank you so much.
We'll come back to you in just a bit, buddy. Thank you. Let's turn now to NBC News senior national correspondent Tom Llamas, also in New Orleans, tracking all of the overnight developments. Tom, what's the scene there?
Hey guys, good morning to you. Yeah, the big story, the big headline out of New Orleans right now is the power outages you guys were just talking about with Al, but there has been some significant structural damage. I want to show you just behind me. We are on Decatur and Toulouse. This is one of the, sort of those famous balconies of the French Quarter, and this is a combination, this destruction right here is a combination of a traffic light, a balcony, some roofing, and an awning of Laura's Candies, which is a famous candy shop here in the French Quarter. I'm going to also ask my photographer, Bill Angelucci, if you can zoom in to this black hole just just behind us. Guys, this is the French Quarter right now. There is no power whatsoever. Not a single light is on. I have never seen New Orleans this dark. The only light you're seeing right now is from our television lights, from our camera lights. It is spooky. It is eerie. It is definitely scary here in the French Quarter right now. The police are out and about, so it is still somewhat safe. But as soon as your car lights turn on, you see glass, you see windows, broken doors all along the floor. I have a lot of friends and relatives here in New Orleans. A lot of them evacuated. Some of them didn't, but they're all trying to text and email right now. And the problem is, as Al mentioned, there's some cell towers down. AT&T right now seems not to be working. Verizon in New Orleans seems to be working. AT&T, though, you cannot get a phone call out. You can't get an email out. You can't get a text out. So there's a lot of confusion right now. Mass power outages. A lot of the hospitals throughout New Orleans also suffered some structural damage. I'm told that a lot of the patients from Louisiana Ochsner Health, which is the largest hospital system in the southeast, I'm told their patients are okay, but there were some hospitals that had to transport patients out from their Bayou hospitals because it just got too dangerous. We also know that there were some elderly citizens of New Orleans in the Metairie Towers that had to be evacuated as well. So just a really, really scary scene here in New Orleans. I'm getting texts of people asking, how bad is New Orleans? Guys, it's bad. The problem is we just don't know how bad.
And we won't probably until the sun starts to come up there to a certain extent. Tom, thank you.
And I think an interesting thing, Tom, that you pointed out was the hospitals. There was a hospital in Thibodaux that lost power, lost a generator, and literally nurses and doctors were handbagging, pumping so that they can get oxygen into their systems. Tom, we're going to learn a lot more at First Light, so we'll be talking back with you in just a bit. Let's bring in Morgan Chesky. He's in Houma, Louisiana. Houma is just about an hour's drive from New Orleans. That was right smack dab in the path of this storm. Morgan, what do you have?
Yeah, Hoda, we're actually just south of Thibodaux, where you mentioned that hospital had to save those patients' lives by hand. And I have to tell you, we know that we won't see the true extent of the damage till the sun comes up. But as we pull out, this is just one building on one block of one community that is left absolutely crippled by Ida. And what's even beyond frustrating for a lot of these first responders is that they don't know how bad it is either. And in every direction they go to, they're getting flat tires. We had a chance to check in with the police department as we made our way through this town with power poles down and power lines blocking streets, and they had to leave many of their homes themselves that either took on water or had roofs ripped right off. And this is the extent of the damage that we're going to be seeing from these wind gusts that were recorded here, upwards of 140 miles an hour. Part of the problem here in Houma and some of the surrounding area is that this was a place that part of the eye wall essentially got stuck from Ida, which unleashed those devastating winds for hours at a time. And that is why, as bad as it is right now, there is a sickening feeling that it will only get worse. I spoke to a Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's deputy last night. I said, is this as bad as Gustav? He says, this is the worst I've ever seen. Send it back to you.
Yeah, and in fact, that sentiment, the worst that they've ever seen. Well, we were talking to some different officials from New Orleans in that area who went through Katrina. They said this one feels so much worse than that did. I mean, again, this is just in the moment. The aftermath, of course, still ahead.
And Houma, especially hard hit.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, they live there. He's stationed there in the Coast Guard. They've been checking in with friends. And to your point earlier, the wind damage is going to be the story, especially there in Houma. Morgan Chesky for us. Morgan, thank you.
Just about 30 miles from New Orleans is Jefferson Parish. That, by the way, the most populated parish in the state, one of the hardest hit areas in the storm. Cynthia Lee Shang, president of the parish there. Cynthia, it's good to see you. I know the last time I heard you speak, you talked about people who were chest deep in water and waiting for rescue. That was such a dire situation. I know there's a situation on Grand Isle. That's the island right there on the outskirts of New Orleans. A lot of people have seen that. What have you been hearing from those people who are in desperate need right now?
So, Hoda, unfortunately, we still have not made contact with people in Grand Isle. We lost contact yesterday, now with the phone service down. It's still dark outside. Our teams are ready to go out. They're assembling now. They have their maps. They have their sections that they're going to. All of our first responders are getting ready. The initial focus this morning will be going to Lafitte, Barataria, Crown Point area. We have had a lot of rescue requests there. We are thank God, ending what I think was a terribly frightening night for many individuals who were waiting for their rescue. It was just dark, just complete darkness outside. And of course, the winds were still there. So, I poked my head out last night, and it was frightening just where I am to just hear the noise, the wind, and the complete darkness. So can you imagine being stranded? And that's where, this is just that night of hell is going to be over with tonight for these people when the light comes up. And thank God for that. But we have been ready to get out here. Today is the day we're going to see the damage, and we're going to know how long of a recovery it's going to take for us. But it has been a long, day and a long night.
Parish President Sheng, there were reports that a levee failed there in Jefferson County. What more can you tell us about that? And also, I know there's some concern about the barges as well becoming unmoored.
Again, all of this is in the Lafitte area that I'm talking about. No, I think one of the stations reported that a levee failed. That's very different from levee overtopping. So, a word I got this morning, and it was verified by our Mayor Tim Kerner Jr., is that the levees were overtopped. So there was no structural failure of the levees. It's just the water was higher than the levee that was built. And that is the confirmation that I got this morning. And they have a bridge that connects parts of Lafitte to Barataria and Crown Point. This is a bridge that gives us problems because we have had vessels, barges hit this bridge before in other hurricane situations. And again, it happened yesterday. It's I think two boats or two vessels hit it. One of them, I'm told, sunk, but the bridge cannot be used, and it'll be out for several months. I mean, we're going to have to rebuild that. So even when we rebuild, those people are going to have to, we're going to have to ferry those people back and forth to their homes for quite some time, for several months.
Well, I want to, Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng, I just want to tell you something. We're praying for you. We're thinking about you. I know y'all working real hard there, okay? And
I know your heart is with us, Hoda. I know that.
You know it. All right. Best of luck, okay?
Okay.
All right, we're going to stay with NBC News all morning long. We'll have a lot more on Hurricane Ida, its path, the aftermath, all of it coming up on today. And you can get updates all morning long at NBCnews.com. For Craig Melvin and I, this has been an NBC News Special Report.